What if a single ring, hidden for decades, held the key to Diana's final message? Prince William opened her old jewelry box and found something he never expected. A secret etched in Latin, a whisper from the past. Want to know why it left him speechless? Stay with us. The jewelry box that time forgot. It began not with a royal decree or a grand unveiling, but with a quiet moment. Behind the thick doors of Althorp House, Diana's childhood sanctuary and final resting place, Prince William stood in a room no one had touched in decades. The air was still. Dust floated in golden rays of afternoon sun. Before him sat an unassuming velvet-lined box, once belonging to the woman the world adored, and he simply called Mum. He expected what anyone would. A tiara, perhaps, pearls passed down from generations, sapphire pieces worn at state banquets. But when he opened it, the familiar gleam of heirloom treasure was nowhere to be found. Instead, something far more intimate lay within. A faded ivory envelope, slightly yellowed with time, sealed but unmistakably addressed in flowing, emotional handwriting. William. He froze. His name, written in Diana's own hand. The envelope had clearly not been meant for public eyes. No royal wax seal, no official stationery, just a mother's pen, soft pressure on old paper. With trembling fingers, William opened it, the silence around him thick with memory. Inside there were two things. First, a ring, deep green, emerald, bespoke and bold, unlike anything ever seen in Diana's known collection. And second, a single line, written with unmistakable weight. For the one who will carry the burden of both truth and tradition. It wasn't just a message, it was a mission. The ring felt cold in his hand, but heavy, emotionally heavy. As he examined it more closely, he saw the inner band bore a Latin inscription, Veritas Lux Mea. Truth is my light. This wasn't just a trinket. This was a symbol, a compass, a mother's final whisper into a future she never lived to see. For years, the jewelry box had been stored at Althorp under the private care of Earl Charles Spencer, Diana's brother. Tucked away behind sealed doors, its contents untouched until now. According to family insiders, the box had only been rediscovered as part of a quiet cataloging project of Diana's personal effects, a project never meant for public consumption. But what was once hidden has now sparked 1,000 questions. Why had this ring been separated from Diana's other royal jewels? Why had no one in the firm, the inner sanctum of monarchy, known about it? And above all, why had she left it for William alone? Some say the discovery moved him to tears. Others claim he didn't speak for hours. But one thing is certain. He left that room changed. Not by wealth, not by status, but by a mother's voice, echoing through time. For the one who will carry the burden of both truth and tradition. What did Diana see coming? What did she fear? And what did she know that no one else did? The box may have been forgotten by time, but its message now burns like a beacon. Stay tuned, because what William found next might just rewrite royal destiny forever. A child of two worlds. Princess Charlotte was born into royalty, but she's growing up in something far more complex, a quiet battlefield of legacies. On the surface, her world gleams with tiaras, pageantry, and polished rituals. But beneath the formal bows and balcony waves, a silent tension brews, one that began long before she took her first breath. Because Charlotte, knowingly or not, stands between two royal women who never shared a throne, but whose shadows still stretch across it. On one side is Princess Diana, a name that still draws tears and cheers in equal measure. To the public, she was a symbol of compassion and courage. To William, she was simply Mum. And within the private walls of Kensington Palace and Adelaide Cottage, her presence remains real, vibrant, almost living. Family time includes flipping through photo albums where Diana laughs in denim, barefoot in the garden. Her voice echoes in old tapes played on rainy afternoons. Her causes are spoken of like commandments. Charlotte knows this woman, not from memory, but from feeling. And that's what makes her different. Because on the other side stands Queen Camilla, a woman who married into royalty but never escaped its scrutiny. Her image, carefully controlled and meticulously curated, offers smiles without depth. She is present, yes, but connected? That's another matter. Insiders whisper that Camilla's relationship with William's children is cordial at best. There are no spontaneous hugs, no kitchen table laughter. With her biological grandchildren, Camilla is warm, even indulgent. But with George, Charlotte, and Louis, the temperature drops. Visits are scheduled. Interactions feel staged. And in this subtle contrast, Charlotte is quietly absorbing everything. Those close to the family describe her as watchful, a child who notices shifts in tone, who listens more than she speaks. At just 9 years old, she's already been called the most perceptive of the Wales children. And perhaps that's why recent murmurs about a whispered remark, a visible hesitation, a subtle distancing from Camilla, have sparked more than curiosity. Could it be that Charlotte is already feeling the weight of the divide? Is she beginning to align, even unconsciously, with the grandmother she never met, but seems to know in her bones? William and Catherine have gone to great lengths to raise their children with emotional literacy, to value feelings, to speak truth gently, to trust instinct. And what happens when that instinct picks up a chill behind the crown? Charlotte's life will always be split between royal duty and personal truth. But already, the choices she's making, who she gravitates toward, what she says when the cameras aren't looking, are revealing something deeper. She may be small in stature, but in this unfolding family saga, Charlotte is no minor character. And the loyalty she's beginning to form might shape the monarchy more than anyone expects. Camilla's complicated royal role. For decades, Camilla Parker Bowles lived in the shadows of royal history, an unspoken name, a controversial figure. But now, she wears a crown. Officially titled Queen Consort, she stands beside King Charles with the weight of history behind her and the eyes of the world upon her. And yet, acceptance still feels elusive, because titles can be bestowed, but trust must be earned. Inside palace walls, Camilla's path has never been smooth. Her relationship with Prince William remains one of polite detachment, respectful on the surface, emotionally distant underneath. Sources have long claimed that the bond is strained, shaped more by shared necessity than shared affection. William has never publicly criticized her, but he's never publicly embraced her either. And that silence? It speaks volumes. But where the real tension lies is not just in William's heart. It's in the hearts of his children. With her own grandchildren, Camilla is reportedly hands-on, hosting garden picnics, slipping sweets, indulging bedtime stories. But with George, Charlotte, and Louis, there is a noticeable gap. No cozy photos, no playful anecdotes, just choreographed moments where warmth is implied but never proven. And in Charlotte's case, that absence has become more obvious. Observers recall recent events where Camilla appeared removed from the Wales children. At public ceremonies, she rarely interacts with them. Private family gatherings show little indication of closeness. While Catherine fosters connection, Camilla maintains a certain distance, a perimeter built not with malice, but perhaps with uncertainty. As if even now, she's unsure of her place in the next generation's hearts. But children are perceptive, especially Charlotte. And that brings us to the whisper, the one caught by a stray microphone, the one that wasn't meant for headlines, but made them anyway. What did Charlotte say that day? Some claim it was about Camilla's behavior. Others say it was a question, a doubt voiced aloud. Whatever the words, they struck a chord, because they suggested that even the youngest among the royals sense the divide. Camilla may never have intended harm, but legacy isn't shaped by intention. It's shaped by impact. And if a child raised in a home that celebrates truth, memory, and emotional clarity begins to feel a dissonance, a coolness, a quiet exclusion, What does that say about the royal family's supposed unity? Camilla's journey to the crown may be complete, but the journey to becoming truly beloved by the next generation? That path is still very much in question, and the smallest royal in the room might be the one holding the answer. Diana's shadow still looms. She's been gone for nearly 3 decades, but Princess Diana's influence has never truly faded, especially not within the walls of the Wales family home. To the public, she's a symbol of compassion and rebellion. To her grandchildren, she is a mythic presence, not quite ghost, not quite memory, but something deeply alive. And for Charlotte, that presence is especially vivid. It begins with the stories, told softly at bedtime, passed between William and Catherine like precious heirlooms. "She would have loved your laugh," William says. "She was brave and kind, and she always spoke her truth." Catherine, too, reinforces her legacy, through charities chosen in Diana's name, through the teaching of empathy over etiquette. Charlotte wears Diana's name. She also wears her fire. Observers have long remarked on the uncanny resemblance, the tilt of her chin, the steel behind her eyes, the flickers of unfiltered emotion. But more than that, it's the emotional intelligence, the sense of justice, the refusal to conform quietly, that makes the connection undeniable. When Charlotte steps onto the public stage, there's a mix of poise and independence that startles even seasoned royal watchers. At Queen Elizabeth's Jubilee, she didn't just wave, she made a statement. A cheeky grin, a knowing look, like someone who understands more than she lets on. And then there's the contrast. Where Diana once brought warmth to cold palaces, Camilla brings calm, but not comfort. Charlotte, growing up surrounded by her grandmother's legacy, can feel that difference. She may not know the whole story yet, but children don't need facts to sense a fracture. She knows that one woman in her life is spoken of with reverent love, and the other with guarded civility. That contrast has weight, and it's shaping her. Charlotte may never sit on the throne, but she may become something just as powerful, a moral compass for a monarchy trying to find its soul. And the ghost of Diana? She's not haunting the palace. She's guiding it, through a granddaughter who sees clearly and speaks when it matters most. The silent tension at palace events. Royal events are designed to dazzle. The gold carriages, the immaculate hats, the choreographed smiles, it's theater at its finest. But for those watching closely, it's not the pomp that speaks loudest. It's the pauses. At Trooping the Color, a moment that lasted barely 3 seconds rippled across the internet. As the royal family gathered on the Buckingham Palace balcony, Princess Charlotte subtly leaned away from Camilla. It was slight, almost imperceptible, but the camera caught it, and the frame was frozen, dissected, analyzed. Was it discomfort or instinct? It wasn't an isolated incident. At Queen Elizabeth II's funeral, insiders recall an alleged exchange that left the family momentarily rattled. According to reports, Camilla expressed displeasure at a brief whisper between Charlotte and George. The moment escalated behind the scenes. Camilla allegedly requested Charlotte be removed from the seating row. William and Catherine declined. The fallout wasn't dramatic, but it was cold. And at the coronation, one of the most scrutinized events in royal history, Charlotte's gestures told a story of their own. She bowed dutifully to her grandfather, but when passing Camilla, no eye contact, no gesture, just silence. Coincidence or choice? Again and again, these micro moments pile up. No public outbursts, no royal scandals, just a series of silences that suggest something deeper. The way Charlotte holds herself, the people she leans toward, the people she doesn't. Palace insiders brush it off as childhood moodiness, but those who understand the language of legacy know better. Children reveal the truths adults work hard to hide. And when a child of the crown, raised in emotional fluency, begins to withdraw, even subtly, that withdrawal carries weight. Charlotte may never say it aloud, but she's already speaking. And what she's not saying is rewriting everything. The whisper that started it all. It wasn't meant to be heard, not by the cameras, not by the press, not by a world still obsessed with royal drama. But in a single unguarded moment, a whisper from Princess Charlotte cracked open a fault line that had long been buried beneath palace smiles and choreographed tradition. It happened at a garden party, the kind of event where sugar-dusted pastries mask subtle tensions and every footstep has been rehearsed. Charlotte, dressed in sky blue, stood beside her mother, eyes scanning the crowd with that familiar composure. Then came the approach. Queen Camilla, smiling, gloved, radiant in pastels. And then, the whisper. Cameras didn't catch the words, but they caught the reaction. Catherine's head snapped subtly toward her daughter. William's face tightened. Camilla paused for a half-second, just long enough for trained royal watchers to sense it. Something had been said. Later that evening, lip readers and body language experts scoured the footage. One theory rose above the noise. Charlotte had asked, "Why is she pretending to be nice?" It was never confirmed, but it didn't have to be. The palace, famously silent on internal matters, declined to comment. But behind closed doors, the moment was not forgotten. It was a child's question laced with painful truth, echoing through gilded hallways and into the heart of a family still haunted by unspoken wounds. For Charlotte, it may have been nothing more than curiosity. But for those who lived through the Diana years, it was something else entirely. A ripple from the past. Because the last time someone dared question royal facades so openly, it was Diana herself, speaking through interviews, glances, and, yes, jewelry. And now, her granddaughter was following the same quiet rebellion. Not with scandalous headlines, but with 6 quiet words. Why is she pretending to be nice? It wasn't an attack. It was a reflection. A child raised to trust emotion had simply responded to something she couldn't name, but clearly felt. And in doing so, she may have said what others only think. Some in the firm have reportedly urged William and Catherine to tighten boundaries, to prevent the children from absorbing outdated narratives. But others, closer to the couple, say it's too late. The legacy lives in Charlotte. The intuition runs deep. The whisper that started it all has now become a quiet symbol, a warning, a shift, a moment where the next generation subtly stepped out of the royal script. And just like that, Diana's voice found a new vessel. Not in scandal, not in rebellion, but in a whisper that refused to be ignored. The Heir and the Mirror. Prince William once stood as the bridge between the old and the new, but now he's become a mirror of contradiction, pulled between 2 legacies, one born of duty, the other of truth. And Charlotte's whisper didn't just echo down palace corridors, it reached him. For days afterward, William was reportedly quiet, distant, and reflective. His aides noticed a shift. One close source said, it wasn't anger, it was recognition. Recognition that his daughter was seeing what he himself had learned to bury. Recognition that the past was not truly past, and perhaps never would be. Because Charlotte's comment wasn't born in rebellion, it was born in intuition. And William knew exactly where she got it. From Diana. He's spent years trying to balance his mother's legacy with the institution she once tried to escape. He walks with the posture of a king, but carries the memory of a boy who held her hand through heartbreak. He married for love, parented with emotional honesty, and led with compassion. But at his core, he still bears the scars of a family at war with itself. And now, he's watching that war play out again, this time through his daughter's eyes. He doesn't want her to carry the same burdens. But how do you protect a child from seeing the truth, when that truth lives in the family portraits? Camilla, by all official accounts, has never been cruel to the children. But in the world of royalty, cruelty is often not active. It's passive. It's absence, distance, the chill behind the smile. Charlotte noticed. William noticed that she noticed. And suddenly, the line between history and future blurred. Insiders say William has grown more guarded in meetings with senior royals since the Whisper incident. He asks more questions, challenges more protocols, keeps tighter control of who spends time with his children, because he knows what Diana knew. Legacy is not just what you leave behind. It's what you allow to continue. If Charlotte can feel the fracture, if she, at 9, can sense which truths ring hollow, then William must decide which path he's guiding her toward. Will he protect the institution or protect her spirit? It's the same question Diana once asked herself, and now William stands before the same mirror, this time with his daughter watching. Catherine's quiet shield. If William is the bridge and Charlotte the mirror, then Catherine is the shield. Silent, steadfast, and razor-sharp beneath her velvet calm. And in this rising storm of whispers, legacies, and unsaid truths, her role has never been more crucial or more difficult. From the moment she entered the royal family, Catherine mastered the art of survival. She learned the rules, she followed the protocol, and slowly, methodically, she became the monarchy's most invaluable stabilizer. But beneath the pearls and poise, Catherine is fiercely maternal. Her priority has always been her children. And when Charlotte whispered her now famous question, something in Catherine reportedly shifted. Those closest to her say she's become more vigilant, more selective in family gatherings, more present during interactions with senior royals. Not in defiance, but in protection. Because Catherine knows what unspoken discomfort looks like. She knows how cold smiles can bruise soft spirits. And she knows exactly how much weight a child's intuition can carry. She doesn't correct Charlotte's instincts. She shields them. It's said that since the incident, Catherine has begun curating Diana's story more intentionally, choosing when to talk about her, how to answer the hard questions, when to let the silences speak louder than the answers. Because it's not just about protecting Charlotte from the past. It's about preparing her for the future. A future where truth will matter more than tradition. Where Charlotte will need to navigate not only a world of crowns and cameras, but of silent expectations and veiled power plays. And in that future, Catherine is her quiet general. Some see her stillness as passivity, but they don't understand her strategy. She doesn't strike. She surrounds. She absorbs. And when the time is right, she defends. Camilla, by contrast, is all calculation and distance. And while Catherine shows her the recurred grace in public, privately, the boundary is firm. Especially now, because Charlotte is watching, learning, becoming. And Catherine's greatest legacy may not be her title or charity. It may be the emotional fortress she's building, brick by gentle brick, around her daughter's spirit. Diana's voice in a modern monarchy. It was never just about tiaras or tears. Princess Diana didn't want to destroy the monarchy. She wanted to humanize it, to whisper truth into a palace that had forgotten how to listen. And now, almost 30 years later, her voice is still rising. Not in rebellion, but in legacy. And it's rising through Charlotte. The question isn't whether Diana's spirit lingers, it's how loudly it speaks through the generations, through William's parenting, through Catherine's protection, and now through Charlotte's quiet defiance. The monarchy has tried to move on. Camilla has been rebranded. Charles has been crowned. New portraits have replaced old ones. But none of that has erased Diana's influence. Because influence isn't erased, it echoes. And Charlotte is echoing. Not with headlines, not with interviews, but with a gaze, a step, a whisper. Diana wore jewelry with meaning. Charlotte wears her name with purpose. Diana questioned the institution from the inside. Charlotte feels the imbalance without being told. And that's what terrifies the firm the most. You can spin stories, you can manage reputations, but you can't control what a child sees. And if Charlotte, at just 9, already feels which rooms are colder, which hands are sincere, and which smiles are hollow, then the story isn't over. It's evolving. And in that evolution, Diana's voice is not fading. It's getting sharper. What the future holds. The royal family has always survived through silence, through structure, through tradition wrapped in ritual. But what happens when the future learns to speak? What happens when that future wears braids, asks questions, and bows only when it feels right? What happens when her name is Charlotte? The monarchy now stands on a precipice. William is the heir. Catherine is the heart. But Charlotte may be the change they never saw coming, because she's not rebelling. She's reflecting, and what she reflects is what the crown has tried to control for generations: human truth. The question isn't whether she'll become queen. The question is, what kind of queen would she make? One grounded in truth, like Diana. One forged in warmth, like Catherine. Or one navigating shadows, like Camilla. She may still be years from titles or duties, but already her presence carries weight. Already her instincts are making people shift uncomfortably behind palace walls. Already her voice, however soft, is bending the steel of centuries-old tradition. The future isn't in the throne. It's in the child who may one day choose not to sit on it. And if that child is already whispering truth, then the crown should be listening. Because what Charlotte sees now will shape what the monarchy becomes next. And if Diana's light truly lives on, it burns in her. The crown, the whisper, and the reckoning, they tried to write a new chapter. A chapter where the crown gleamed, untarnished by the past. But as every whisper from Charlotte grows louder, that polished narrative begins to crack. Royal insiders hoped time would soften the legacy of Diana, that Camilla's crown would shine brightly enough to cast her own light. But now, the past isn't just returning. It's reasserting itself through the youngest voices in the family. William knows it. Catherine guards against it. And Charlotte? She simply reflects it, without filter, without fear. And so, the monarchy finds itself at a crossroads. The crown still sits atop Charles's head, but the future is forming quietly in school hallways, garden walks, and whispered questions behind palace doors. One child asked why someone was pretending to be nice. And suddenly, generations of history are echoing through that sentence. Because a whisper, once released, cannot be taken back. And neither can the truth it carries. Camilla's crown and Diana's curse. There's a weight to every royal title, but none heavier than Queen Camilla's, because hers is not a crown passed through affection. It is a crown forged through fire. Time has offered her rebranding. The public has been asked to forget. But the echo of Diana is not easily silenced. And now, in Charlotte's era, that echo grows louder still. Each event, each gesture, is watched with sharper eyes. Camilla walks among a family that tolerates her presence, but rarely embraces it. And Charlotte, silent, observant, unflinching, has become a symbol of that unease. Camilla may rule beside a king, but she will never escape the queen who was never crowned. Because Diana left more than sorrow. She left a warning. And Charlotte may be its living reminder. The legacy that can't be erased. The palace can revise press releases. The crown can polish portraits. But legacy doesn't live in titles. It lives in truth. And Charlotte is truth, wrapped in silk, armed with instinct. She is not choosing sides. She is simply seeing what's there. Camilla holds a crown, but Diana holds the world's memory. And through Charlotte, that memory moves, breathes, waits. No royal decree can control a child's heart. No protocol can dictate what she feels. And what Charlotte feels may one day change everything. The question is no longer if she sees the truth. It's what she'll do with it when the time comes. Because Diana's story isn't finished, and Charlotte may be the one who writes the ending. So, what does this hidden ring mean for William and the future of the crown? Diana may be gone, but her voice clearly isn't. Thanks for watching till the end. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. We truly appreciate you.